It's Wimbledon week, everybody. This podcast is sponsored by Courtside Rehab and Training. As I've mentioned before, if you have issues like tennis elbow or other racket injuries relating to shoulders, knees, or whatever, plantar fasciitis, Dean is your man. Courtside Rehab and Training works one-on-one with each of their clients. Dean specializes in physical rehab and performance for racket sport athletes dealing with a recent injury, surgery, or chronic pain. He offers both in-person and digital solutions for rehab and performance. To book a free consult call, visit Courtside Rehab and Training or hit the link on the Courtside Rehab and Training Instagram profile.
Gentlemen, let's get down to business.
Can you dig it? You dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
All right. So for this Cutter's Rule podcast, I have two absolute paddle fanatics, Griffin Cramer and Connor Fitzgerald. Little bit of background. I don't know them well, and that's why we have them on. We're going to try and learn a little bit about their paddle history. I know that Griffin gave a talk to his class when he was 10 years old about the sport of paddle. He comes from a paddle family and won some junior tourneys. His mom was the junior tour director, I believe, right? And your dad, JJ, was ranked at one time.
Yep.
Connor, on the other hand, was a high-level soccer player at Delaware, then UConn, or vice. Was it Delaware then UConn, or UConn then Delaware?
UConn, then UD.
All right. And they started playing together around, from what I can tell, December 2023. They were both in their 20s in PTI. Now they're both around a 5 or a 6. They're 23-5 in 2 years together. They're playing some high-level tournaments. We're going to talk about the Fairfield Open, and then we're going to talk about Natties as well. And there's really three reasons why I'm having them on. One, they, as I mentioned, they are absolute paddle fanatics, and we applaud that. Number two, Griffin, you're not aware of this, but Patty Hogan she brought up your name to me and has been saying that we got to get you on. And as soon as she mentioned your name, I'm like, why do I know that name? And it's because on the live streams, you are engaging with anybody and everybody nonstop, which
Yep.
I love. And then if you listen to the Marc Powers episode, well, you obviously did.
Yep.
I mentioned up in Boston a couple of years ago, I was behind like 6 or 7 guys. They were brown bagging it. They had some brown liquor. They offered some to me. They were super rowdy, and you guys made it so much more fun because they were just calling out shots and screaming every time Marc hit a winner, and I tracked them down. It turns out it was these two guys. So, guys, welcome to the podcast, and thanks for doing it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank
I
you so
believe
much for having us.
me and Connor are the co-founders of the Marc Powers fan club. So
I just remember every time he hit a shot, you guys were like out of your seats and taking a swig.
yeah, that was a fun one. That was a fun one for sure.
What have you? He's obviously both your favorite players. Is that the deal here? Or?
Definitely
Yeah,
up
he's
there.
been he's like a local guy, to Fairfield County. So we obviously knew his name and knew of him through friends of friends and through other people in the area. So he was kind of our guy going in.
Well, he's certainly a fun guy to watch, right? He
For
plays
sure.
plays fast. So let's talk. How did you guys end up hooking up together and deciding to play tournaments?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. And Connor can definitely chime in whenever here. But Connor's dad is the owner of a tennis store in Fairfield County. They have one in Darien and one in Greenwich. And my dad was an ex-pro tennis player, so he was in there all the time. And eventually, it came up that Connor was interested in playing more paddle, and he was getting serious about paddle. So we kind of linked up through that. And I don't even know if I remember the first time we played together, Connor, but I believe it was at Tokenique, and then from there I was transferring schools up to Boston, and Connor was looking to move up to Boston, so we hooked up and started playing casual matches, and yeah, got more serious from there.
So, how did you guys choose to play together? Somebody mentioned to me the other day, we were talking about choosing partners and your games have to match, and then you also obviously have to enjoy actually playing with the guy, right? Somebody that you want to have a few beers with afterwards. So, how does your game fit together, the two of you?
We both like to drink beer after.
Yeah, I think that's
Uh,
pretty much it.
yeah. No, so yeah, just getting back to what Griffin said. My dad owns a tennis store. So my dad grew up not growing up playing paddle, but played paddle maybe in like the early 2000s. So he was big into paddle then, and then took 10 years off to raise my brother and I. And then once I graduated school, I just wanted something to do. So I picked up a paddle for the first time, addicted ever since. And then I don't know if you remember this, Griffin, but I think it was at Tokenique. Me, my dad, Griffin, and Griffin's dad had like weekly matches. Like when I first started playing, like we
Yeah.
were playing, I think it was like Tuesday nights, like every night at Tokenique, because my dad's store is like 5 minutes from Griffin's club in Darien. And at the time I graduated, I was working in New York City, commuting from Connecticut. So I would just take the train into Darien. Dad would pick me up and we'd just go play paddle for hours. So that's how me and Griffin started first playing. And then, like Griffin said, Griffin moved up here for school. I moved up here for work at the same time. So I got us involved in the Boston paddle scene. And game style wise, I think number one, we're both young. So I think that's
Mhm.
kind of, I would say, looking at a partner. I just turned 25 this year. I think Griffin's 23. So, there's not a ton of serious paddle players at our age. So, going to tournaments, drinking beer and stuff is high on our list.
So wait, when did you start playing paddle, Connor?
I started um fall 22, I want to say.
Jesus. But you were a
Uh,
racket. You had picked up a racket obviously before, right? Tennis.
so I grew up playing tennis a little bit, not a ton, probably until I was like 11 or 12, and then I just stopped playing to focus on soccer. So then I played college soccer, and then when I got done with it, I wanted something to do. And at the time, like growing up, my family didn't belong to a club. So I think that's kind of why I was never around paddle, just because we didn't belong to a country club. And then we joined Aspetuck Valley Country Club in Weston, Connecticut during COVID. So they have the full golf, tennis, paddle, pool, everything. And so my dad got back into it. And then, he was just kind of like, we're going to go play at the club. Do you want to come? Started playing, once I graduated school. And, by that November, I was probably fully addicted. So
It is an addiction, isn't it?
it is. It's crazy. And then you just meet everyone else, met Griffin, met a bunch of different guys, and then, kind of just took off from there. And then joining the Boston League, our head pro at Aspetuck is Marc Parsons, all-time paddle legend. So I just went up to Marc and I was like, I'm moving up to Boston. I need to get into the paddle scene there. He had then hooked me up with a member at our club who had been up here and was a member at the Truck Stop, which is a legendary Boston um, club that is no longer a thing. But so he introduced me to the right people. I got on a team. Griffin moved up here at the same time. I started doing pickup matches with Griffin, and then now we both belong to Brookline Paddle Club up here in Boston. So second year in the Boston League for us. So it's a lot of fun.
Wow. Now,
Did you
Griff,
guys play in the Connecticut League before that, or ever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can get into talking about Connecticut League, Boston League, all great, but there's definitely some major differences, but they're all good.
Yep.
yeah, let's hear Griffin's background, then let's definitely dive into the differences. So, Griffin, obviously, you played paddle much longer.
Yeah, I mean, racket sports in my family with my dad's background as a tennis player, they weren't exactly optional. So we grew up playing, every racket sport this side of the Mississippi. So paddle, tennis, badminton, ping pong, whatever it was, we were playing. We always had rackets in our hands. So started playing paddle when I was like 7 years old. Played a bunch in juniors. won 2 junior national championships, which was like my claim to fame. That's how I know Patty Hogan. She was on tour with me back when I was a little youth, and so yeah, I've been around the sport forever. Played in the Fairfield County Saturday Morning League all throughout high school. Then I played. I think this is my 5th year doing the summer league in Connecticut. 4th or 5th year doing the summer league in Connecticut. So it's been super fun. I've met a ton of people. This finished my 2nd season in Boston, obviously. Yeah, it's been great. Addicted to paddle, hate tennis. Yeah, it's great.
I'm making that transition. I've only been playing rackets for 4 years, but the club that I belong to is an amazing old school grass. It's the oldest grass tennis club in the United States. So I do feel obligated to play.
Right.
This year we actually created our first summer league here down in New Jersey on Monday nights, and I refuse to give up paddle during the summer now.
Right.
So what are the differences between Connecticut and Boston? I'm curious.
Oh, it's a good question. It's a complicated question for sure.
Say Connecticut, I would say there's 2 leagues. So there's a paddle
Right.
player Thursday night league. So that is also what the Connecticut Summer League is through.
Right.
So the paddle player is just like a website. I think it's just paddleplayer.com, and you can see like everyone's team and rosters and results and everything like that. So that's Thursday nights in the winter, like normal winter schedule. And so in that league, your club pro can play on your team, but that league does not count towards PTI,
Yeah.
like your PTI, and it's 4 lines. And then the Fairfield County Platform Tennis League, FCPTL, it's Saturday and Sunday mornings, 8:30 start, AM, and 4 lines again, but pros cannot play, and then it counts towards your PTI. So those are like the 2 main leagues in Fairfield County. Thursday nights are fantastic because the pros play and everyone is usually available, versus Saturday morning. It's, at least from our club, if you have a deep club, it's, you can put out a full team, but Saturday morning dads are running around with kids, or it's like me and Griffin who are usually hungover out in the city or going to play a tournament. So it's tough to get people out a lot of the times on Saturday mornings, but there's a lot of options.
In the paddle player league you talked about, is that club based as well? That you're everyone, or can you kind of pick your own teams for that? Or
No, that's club based for Thursday night, but then the summer paddle player is like captain's pick. Like you just kind of hop on a team through the captain of the team. And I think those captains have been like in the league for like 10 years, maybe, Griffin, or like 5-7 years, something like that.
Yeah, as long as the league's
like
around.
Yeah, they've been like the same teams, like core for a long time. They just add and drop players as they go.
Yeah.
And who are your captains?
We play for different teams now.
Yeah, we play on different teams now. We used to play on the same team, but a team moved clubs to my club in Connecticut. So like our home site is out of Aspetuck, where I belong. So I had to move. Didn't want to, but had to.
And how about, so sorry, go. No,
Yeah,
Luke,
yeah.
you go.
And in New Jersey, though, so like that, we do kind of a relegation system, right? Where there's different divisions. If you finish in the top 2 or 3, you move up a division. The bottom teams move down, and that's kind of how the talent levels out and whatnot. So, what about like lower levels? Is it only kind of top players in these leagues, or do they have leagues for all different PTIs, and then people can kind of move up and down throughout, or how does that kind of work, the standings each year?
For the Saturday mornings, they do divisions. I think we have divisions like 1 through 9, 1 through 11 or something. I think the Thursday might only be 1 or 2 divisions, and those don't move up or down. But the Saturday mornings do move up and down.
Semester wise too. I think there's 10 teams in each division, and then after, I think they call it the winter, so it's like October to New Year. That's like 1 session, and then the bottom 2 and top 2 move up, and then the spring semester, like February to April, whenever the league runs, top 2 and bottom 2 move. But Thursday night, I think there's no relegation. or promotion. I want to say there's 3 divisions, and there's probably maybe like 8 or 9 teams in each division. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah. The Saturday morning league has changed a bunch. Ever since COVID hit, when COVID hit, they stopped allowing pros in the league because there was such an influx of people that wanted to play. So many people were home and had nothing to do. And so many people wanted to play. So they said, all right, no more pros. We have to prioritize members first. So they cut pros. And then all the pros eventually left and started playing for the paddle player Thursday night league. So like you have this huge discrepancy, and like a lot of clubs that are like easier to join or like are public access courts have a lot of really, really good, members and a lot of really deep teams. Then you have clubs that are harder to join, which really, really struggle to field full lineups and field decent lineups. We only play 4 lines, and it's like the Saturday morning league has gotten killed, not only with availability, but just because pros can't play. Maybe your club has 1 or 2, single digit PTIs or negative PTIs. But oftentimes the rest of the lineup is, much, much weaker. So it gets a little tough. And that's definitely what we've seen, and especially at my club. And I know other clubs are struggling with the same problems.
How would you describe your games? I got to watch, obviously, the match he sent me. And Connor, you were featured on Cutter's Rule a while back with a nasty cutter. But how would you describe your game?
slow, unfortunately.
Whoa. Yeah.
No, definitely picking up the pace a little bit. I would say like this past year, me and Griffin played the more tournaments than probably we have in or at least Griffin has in a long time, and I have. So we didn't do like a full tour, but we probably did like 5 or 6, I want to say.
Yeah.
So I would say not like our MO, but like it was always just start slow. Like me and Griffin don't have like crazy rackets backgrounds that a lot of these, players have. So, we kind of just try to beat them by playing paddle rather than trying to play, out racket them or, out tennis them on the paddle court. So I would say we play slow, but, I would say later in the season, we just started to pick up, driving and hitting more offensive shots when at the net. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Game is definitely changing in a good way, but I think we always can rely on, slow play and digging when we need to.
Yeah. I think me and Connor's best assets, and I would say this for both of us, is we're just really good competitors, and we know how to like just compete and just stay alive. And I know a lot of people hate us for that, especially in certain tournaments. But we won't go away, and we'll just kind of stay alive. So we're the itch you can't scratch, and for good or for worse, it's done us all right. We're definitely trying to work on a couple things, maintaining offense and key moments, and like finding big shots and the right shots to take, in certain matches and at certain levels. That's been like the biggest component that we're trying to work on for our games. I think Connor would agree with that. But yeah, just, good competitive fun.
Makes sense. You guys can probably wear some teams out. Look for 2 young athletic guys, can get everything and
What we try to do. I would say I learned the screens first. Like when I started to play paddle, I would just go out with my dad and I would just go on ad and deuce and just practice screens. You would do rollers, cutters, different spins. So I think that kind of helped my improvement, kickstart, I would say, because I think once you learn the screens and you're comfortable getting a lot of things back, I think you can get, into higher like pickup matches and, play with bettors that are better with you than you because, you're able to dig a lot of balls and keep the ball in play. So I think that, learning the screens first for me was a big thing. And I kind of rely on that now. I think my screenplay is probably my best asset. And I just feel, just super comfortable on the screens, deuce and ad. And I just think that allows me to place myself in a more offensive position when in the backcourt, knowing that I can go out and dig a ball, and same with Griffin. So I think we kind of try to put pressure on teams that way because I don't think either one of us have like a monster backhand or forehand where, we're taking away that side of the court. I think we're just trying to put pressure on teams in a different way.
You got a monster serve to the ad, though. You ace Steve Mitchell.
That's my favorite shot in paddle.
That's on the resume. On the resume.
And Griffin, you have a really interesting forehand. You do a great job of disguising a lob versus a drive, just the way you hold the racket. I was watching a match and I was like, God, I can't tell whether or not he's going to drive or lob at all. It's really interesting the way that you swing that.
I'll take any compliment I can get on my forehand because every other comment I hear from my partner is forehand's non-existent. Got to get the forehand going. Forehand's in development. So I'll take any compliment I can get.
No, it's effective, right? I mean, if you're keeping the guy off balance, you don't have to hit a wicked forehand.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
For all the listeners out there too, this is just shows the level of research Sean does. He's watching your matches. He's got your record now. He's your origin stories.
We said it's an addiction.
Awesome.
It's an absolute disease.
It is.
Love it.
So let's talk about PTI because you guys did move the needle very quickly together. Just from let's say the low 20s to single digits. Do you think that was just a function of playing and winning in tournaments, or what was a progression for you guys? Was there a progression individually or as a team during that time that helped move the needle? Because everyone's trying. I know so many guys that are in the 20s that would love to be a 5 or a 6. So how did you guys do that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we played a couple of tournaments earlier in the season. I think the South Shore of Boston was the first one we played, and we picked up a couple good wins and took a couple sets off guys that we had known and who were low single digits or 0 PTIs. These guys, Ricky Sanford and Pete Oman, and we had been playing good pickup with guys in Boston. So I think our level had really progressed, and we were ready for a big movement. And then the new PTI algorithm got introduced via Jake, and that definitely helped our swings. Started seeing more of an impact on our PTI, and we just kept having a couple good wins throughout the season. And we might have, I think our average after every tournament was probably dropping a point and a half or 2 points, and we just kind of kept going. The league in Boston definitely helped. They're definitely good players up by the top where me and Connor were kind of positioned in the lineup. So got to take advantage of those opportunities, and yeah, the rest just kind of followed suit. It's a number that I try not to dwell on, but it's definitely, it feels like a good result. So
I think every time very well on it.
Yeah, I would also say for players that are 20s, 15s, 12s that are looking to go down. I think what me and Griffiths noticed when we were there, at that playing at that kind of level was we would go to these tournaments and we would have a good first round win, a round that we should win, but it's 2-2 or 3-3, and then we play a really good team that are -1s and 0s, and we're PTI underdogs by 15 points, and getting a set off them and making a really good match. I think you get a lot of movement from that as well when you're 10 plus PTI underdogs, and with the new algorithm you take a set off them. Definitely helps the result, your PTI, as well as your game plan, because kind of just shows that you can hang at that level.
Yeah.
And it's just paddle is game of levels. You learn that very quickly, and I think we're just dropping levels, and I think that's pretty much it.
So Fairfield Open, you guys had a great run. I think that was your first big run. Is that?
That was a long day.
That was a long day. Yeah, that was a long day for sure.
That's Mason.
You learn a
right?
lot from those. Yeah, you learn a lot from those tournaments. Just learning to win the matches that you're supposed to win quicker. And I think that was me and Griffin's problem. It's we'll take Fairfield Open for an example. I want to say it was a 32 draw or something, a full 32. So, 5 matches in a day, whatever it was. So, first round, we're playing against a couple, I think at the time we were maybe 10s, and we're playing against a couple 30 PTIs, match that we should win. You're out there for an hour, give or take, win 2-2 or 3-3, whatever the score is. So that's just an hour on court in the morning. Then you go into your second round match. I think we played a couple Connecticut, Westchester people that were like pretty PTI even.
Yeah.
And you smoked them first set, second set, we were up, got a little sloppy, ended up losing the second set, winning it in three. So now, that was probably a 2 hour match. So now we're on court 3 hours, and now we're just, we were not even to the quarters yet. Go have lunch or whatever, a little bite to eat, go into the quarters. We're playing the one seeds who are Fairfield County guys that we know very well. They're both like, I think at the time we're like 3-5 PTI, give or take. Me and Griffin were like tens. I think that match was 3 sets, 3 hours, 15, give or take.
Yeah.
So now we're on court, almost, 7 hours, 6 hours. So, and we're just in the semis, and it's 4 p.m. The legs are shot. So it's a long day, but, from those tournaments, we get the takeaway is, to try to put your opponents away when you can, and, win those matches that you're supposed to win, fast, especially in tournaments. It's different than a league match. So.
And will you guys have a main lunch before it be at all during the day, or are you guys? We will not do it until we're out.
There's a mandatory one main lunch during lunch. That's what we call a lunch break. That's what we call a lunch break in me and Connor's area. After that though, you got to get refocused, and you got to settle back in.
And lunch goes straight to your head too.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about nationals. You guys won your first two matches there.
Yeah, won the first two and lost to the team that ended up winning it all in a match that we felt like we should have won, and probably should have won on paper. That was a tough loss.
You didn't tell them that we were up 5-3 and 5-3 in both sets.
Ooh,
yeah.
Ooh. I'm looking. It was 7-6, 7-5.
With set points in the second, but we don't want to talk about it.
All right.
Yeah.
So well, that leads. My next question was going to be, what's your most devastating loss? So I think we've found it.
Yeah, that one hurt for sure.
And in
actually, Boston one hurt probably a little bit worse. Boston Open, we lost to two local pros in a match that we were favored in, and yeah, that hurt as well. Me and Connor love getting in situations where we're like primed to win the match, and then we lose the match. Yeah, it was but all good learning experiences, and like it felt like the stars aligned for those guys at nationals specifically. Those guys went on to win the whole thing, and in epic fashion. I remember being with Connor watching the national final, and there was like nobody in the stands. Then all of a sudden you hear like uproars from 100 yards away, and you realize that everybody is watching the challenger final and not watching the national final. And we find out later that those guys like came back after being down like 5-2 or something, to beat the two seeds and win it. So it felt like the stars aligned for them, but definitely a disappointment. Felt like me and Connor were playing good paddle, and felt like we could, definitely win that match and go on to make it to the final, and who knows from there. But lessons learned.
No, they were local, those guys, right? I mean,
They were.
Yeah. I was
behind.
I was in the main, watching the main final too, behind Marc Power's coach, and he thought it was an atrocity that there were more people watching the finals. Still, like that's your first nationals, right? I mean, outside of and I know you guys were obviously at Boston, but outside of the play, what did you guys think about Philly as a venue?
Oh man, I had a blast.
I had a great time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
my first time there.
Yeah,
or playing in Philly, so I had a great time. Awesome venue. Yeah. It was like 7 courts at the cricket club.
Yep. Yeah, it was gorgeous.
I don't know how I feel about the nighttime final, but I don't know. It's tough because we were there watching. I think it started at like 5 or 6, and the match was just so long. By the time it's like 10 or 11, whatever time they got done, midnight. I don't know. We were like freezing, so we ended up going back to like one of our Boston friends' house, or not house, but like house they were renting or whatever, for the weekend, and like 6 of us just watched, the second and third set from the house, just drinking. So, but we were in Boston when they had the Boston Nationals, and we watched it during the day. What was it, Sunday, that they played at like 11? I would say there was definitely a bigger crowd, but it was obviously just better weather. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
the weather obviously was a factor, but the venue itself was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm finding a challenge with the logistics between where the final is, where the beers are, and where the
Yeah.
bathroom is.
I was about to say the same thing. They need to have
Right?
coolers at every station and like heating lamps coming down on top of us. So I need
Yeah.
ice below,
Totally.
ice cold beer below, and like a heat lamp to keep me warm because
Yeah.
it was brutal. I mean, you couldn't be outside for more than 15 minutes without being freezing.
No, it was freezing. They should have had more like warm, fire pits or something. But
Right. Yeah.
um,
Especially when you get to the championship court where it's elevated and then the wind is really, ripping from all angles right on top of you. I think that was probably the main reason why more people were over by the Challenger final because they had kegs lined up right next to it. I was like, well, if, we could have had that over at the main final. Maybe we would have stayed a little bit longer.
and the bathrooms, the mobile bathrooms right behind the court. So
Right. Right.
what are you guys planning for this year? Have you guys talked about which tournaments and how many tournaments you guys are going to play together?
They just released the schedule, and we haven't talked about it too much. I know I've committed to the Boston Open with Stephen Mitchell, actually. So me and him will be playing the Boston Open together, which will be fun.
Wait, that's not a joke?
That's not a joke. I'm not kidding.
You dog. You absolute dog.
It's not a joke. It turns out if you buy Stephen Mitchell enough really good beer, he'll do you a favor like that.
Oh my God, I am so jealous. That is tremendous.
Yeah. So he's been gracious enough and agreed to play the Boston Open with me. So I know I've got that one in the books, and I've got some other tournaments that are going to be more fun tournaments locked in with some buddies. But I think me and Connor need to have a more serious conversation about, what our schedule is going to look like. I know we've got a couple tournaments on our minds that, we want revenge, or, we want to avenge ourselves at. But yeah, we got to take a look at the schedule and, plan a little bit more. Obviously, we're both a little busy, so.
I think Griffin, you've played Short Hills, but not with Connor, right?
Opposite. Connor played Short Hills
Connor did.
with,
Okay.
somebody else. I couldn't play that one.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
Connor, you ended up playing the pro at my club, Andre Samitz and T Mac, Tommy McDonald. That was your. Do you recall that?
I don't, to be honest with you. This
Um,
past Short Hills?
yeah.
T
Mac was a lefty, like a nasty serve, nasty drops. I mean, he's got spin.
I don't think we did. I'm gonna be honest.
Really?
I don't think so. We played like 2 pros in the beginning, our first match, like low or younger. I forgot their names, and then we played the Sleepy Hollow guys next round. Gus Trez and Krill Estevez. That was a really good match. And then we played. We ended up winning that, and then we played. What's his face? He played with Sven Burris in Boston, Diego Aguedo, and his partner. Yep, I think they're.
Wow, shame on me. I'm embarrassed.
It's all right. You got everything else right, though.
You got everything else right.
Yeah, you're right. You nailed it. I don't know why I thought you had played them. All right, so you guys still need to work on which tournaments you're playing this year. Additionally,
I want to play more. I haven't played Chicago Charities. I think Charities is probably on my list for sure. Other than that, I think it'll just be the usual suspects: Boston, Short Hills, Fairfield.
Yeah.
Even if there's like local Boston ones, they have a South Shore pretty much every year. We'll do that. And we'll just take it as it go, like the Westchester, the Ridgewoods, those local, kind of like New Jersey, New York, Connecticut ones. I think we'll all do So
What'd you think of Short Hills?
it's a great time.
Yeah.
Loved it. Great tournament, great venue.
Actually, I'm right. Andre didn't play with T Mac. He played with Diego. So the other Andre, the not Diego.
The
That's
taller, yeah, older.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He's a good player. Great player.
yeah. He just started playing. I mean, he played Davis Cup for Belarus.
Yeah.
Hated paddle. Just started playing 3 years ago, but now, like us, he's got the
Got the
bug.
bug. Love
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Um,
With your guys' ratings, were there any tournaments last year that you tried to enter the NRT field for and didn't get into, or you find that you get into most of them?
We didn't get into a lot, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. I would say like me and Griffin are such paddle addicts that we put on the Westchester like open.
Yeah.
So I would just say the quick backstory on that was that so the Westchester Classic happened last year. I want to say it was the weekend before Thanksgiving in November. And
Yeah.
it was just a 24 draw, but all the top guys were playing in it. I want to say Ossis Koenig Humphreys won it against
Yep.
Powers and Nunez in the final. So I would say at a 24 draw, I want to say close to 50 teams signed up.
Yeah.
So obviously just way overstocked. So on that Monday when you get the email, I want to say her name's Karen or Carol. I forgot her name, but
Yeah.
you get the email saying like you got placed in the tournament or wait list, whatever. So like me and Griffin were on the wait list and I was like I was already gonna be home for Thanksgiving. Like I want to play. So I emailed her and I was like, if I help put on like an open/NRT, like, will you guys do it? She calls me right away. So we just start talking. I told her like I'm from the Fairfield County Open, or I'm from Fairfield County. Know a bunch of like we knew a lot of the teams that like didn't get in, and they're all pretty much Fairfield County guys. So just started reaching out. I ended up we play a bunch with this guy Scott Robin down in Fairfield County, and he's a member at Silver Spring Country Club, which ended up hosting
Yep.
it. So the problem is, though, we'll go back to the Saturday morning county league. Is that the Saturday mornings when all the tournaments happen, there's also league happening. So it's tough to find a venue because all the clubs are hosting league on that Saturday morning. Luckily, their team was away. So he signed up for the tournament, and the head pro there, Roberto, signed up for the tournament and didn't get in. So that kind of was like a double whammy. So we ended up setting it all up. They ended up hosting the tournament. I think it was a 16 draw. One venue. It was just a great day of paddle that we helped, put the APTA on. And, I would say for eating wise and drinking wise, I think we did a great job.
Yeah. One of the best challenger events that I've been to. And, it's great to have a partner like Connor who's like so addicted to paddle that he's willing to email and call all these people on,
On that Monday,
Sunday
I would say
nights. Yeah.
if the email came out on Monday, I would honestly say that Wednesday we had a full draw out. Like we got right to work, and they did like a sandwich platter and snacks at like 11:30 for food, and then we brought in some barbecue at like 4:30.
2 kegs. Yeah.
Kegs. It was it was a great venue. Silver Spring is an awesome club, and I think that not changes the game for challengers, but you can honestly do like a 16 team challenger out of one venue with 4 courts. It's completely doable.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the way I think the challenger should be going forward, just because you'll just allow more players to play and get better. So
every partnership needs a manager, a guy that's on top of getting into the tournaments and logistics and everything. So I guess Connor, that's your role.
I take it on.
All right.
You can still in school.
Manager.
You got to cut him some slack,
So tell me, like, there's so many great players out there, right? That everyone knows the names like Mitchell, right? Who are some of the best players you guys have played against that maybe people don't know about?
I mean, there are a lot of guys, especially in the summer league. The summer league is great because you got a lot of tennis pros that are like getting into paddle and are learning. And so we've played played against a bunch of guys that are like, maybe not, top 10 in the country, but are like really, really solid players. I know I personally played against like Enrique, Milos Davic, and like, Pavle Jefferson, and like, all these guys that are, names that might not be super familiar, but are, becoming more and more popular. And like, these guys are just, they're killers. So
Enrique's a
talented.
beast.
Yeah. Enrique
Yeah, he's
and
a
Milos.
beast.
Yeah. I played them last year and got humbled, very quickly. But yeah, I mean, together, like, me and Connor played in the summer league together last year and had good wins over a buddy of ours, Keeler Mose, who's a great player, great guy, good friend, and he played with Pavle Jefferson, who's a touring pro, and he's the head pro at one of the clubs in Westchester, I believe. So a bunch of great players, and we've had the privilege of like having Stephen Mitchell in our circle and becoming a member at Brookline Paddle Club this year. So it's been a great opportunity to like, learn from the best and get out and play friendlies with him. He's such a great guy that like, he's happy to come out and play with us, especially if we supply, pretty decent beer. So yeah, it's just a good opportunity to learn and play against better and better opponents and, learn from the best.
Now, Griffin, I saw you even got into a league match with Steven against the GOAT.
Yeah, Johan. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was a fun one for me. That was a fun one for sure. I Ubered over there about 2 hours early, got a good stretch in, used like the bathroom there. I took their towels, like I took everything, had my headphones on. And all of a sudden, like 15 minutes before the match, my partner walks in and, I'm like stretched out, like ready to go with my headphones on. And he's like, "Oh, you got any beer for me?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, here, you can take one out." So yeah, it was good fun. I think Johan definitely got me a couple times on a couple tags.
Nice.
But, I'll never forget, we were warming up and I was warming up with Johan because I was on the deuce side with Steve. And about like 5 minutes of the warm up, Steve looks at Johan. He's like, "Yeah, you good?" And Johan's like, "Yeah, this guy hasn't missed." I look at Johan and I'm like, "Yeah, get used to it." And, everybody starts laughing or whatever. And then, like 15 minutes into the match, we're like still in the first point. And I think Johan just wailed one at me, like from the net, just tried to tag me. And I was fired up with Steve and whatever. So that's on my paddle resume for sure.
That's incredible.
Badge of honor getting tagged by Durant.
It is. It really is. It hurts like hell, especially with how hard he hits the ball. But I wore it like a champ.
I wouldn't wash that part of my body. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah.
How often do you guys play? Like peak, like during the winter? Are you guys 5 nights a week, guys?
Like 3.
At least 3. Yeah, at least 3. League, and then we have like team practices that we do. Then we try to set up a practice, just like a casual match. You can usually find me at the PPC courts late at night when nobody else is there.
Getting the volley out.
Yeah, getting the volley machine going.
Oh, nice. They took away ours.
It's a shame.
That machine is, you want to talk about an ability to see, whatever it is, wires, or it's just, you can get so much better.
Right. Yeah. That's great. I love it. I tell people all the time, especially like lower level ladies, like there's no excuse not to get better anymore. It's great. It makes you
Let's cut down to the demographic, especially lower level ladies.
Lower level ladies that are like, "Why am I not getting better?" Well, you're not practicing. So
it's true though. And like any lower level players, you can see more wires in 1 hour than you will ever see. You know what I mean? It's like
I agree.
we had 3 people when they went to originally it was subscription based. We only had 3 people at the club subscribe to it. I was like, don't you want to get better at paddle? Like, I don't understand why you're not spending whatever. It wasn't, I think it was like $40 a month.
No, yeah, it was very reasonable for what it was. Yeah.
So what shot do you think is underused in paddle?
I mean, would it be cliche to say a high lob, like a good high reset lob?
Oh,
Like it's such an easy shot to take for granted. And then I started playing with Mitchell a little bit more, and like every third lob that he hits is just like ridiculously high. And it's so high that like you would think like, oh, he's hitting that like as a joke. You're like, wow, that's like a joke lob. But it's crazy. Like it gives him so much time to like, slow down the point and like, regain control. Um,
You
you
lose
know,
it in the darkness too if you're playing at night. If it goes over the lights, you just
oh,
lose.
it's just a great shot all around.
I like
Yeah.
that
It's a
answer.
good answer.
Yeah.
It's like a truthful answer. I would love to say a cutter, like I really would, but my percentage on them recently has not been high enough where I can justify that answer.
You have to say it on this podcast, but
Yeah, I guess that's a prerequisite.
It's
Yeah, I agree with that.
obligatory. Is your cutter as good as Connor's?
Backhand cutter. It's better.
Which one? Mine?
Yeah.
I don't know. I probably swing at it more. I probably swing at it more. I don't know if I make it more, but I swing at it more. So
We do different cutters though.
we do.
Different techniques.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Do you guys watch a lot of pro? Like, how much pro paddle do you guys watch?
Every
Every
tournament.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
My,
bad.
my kind of guys.
We're in the
If you go on
chat.
our, if
30
you go on
minutes
like our
before.
YouTube channels, like or not, like, if you go on like our YouTube accounts, you just go to the APTA, you'll just see like the red line, like every video.
yeah, I know the feeling. And you were saying that you guys, you're commenting on the live streams and trying to get people going.
We're in there.
All right, we'll have to keep that in mind, Sean. Now that we know these guys, that
Yeah.
Just trying to. If you watch the video, if you watch any of the past videos, you like pull up the chat, you'll just see us like they come in as we say them.
Yeah.
We're just trying to grow the game.
Do you guys have? I want to get back to pro paddle, but do you guys have friends that are abs? So I use the word paddle fanatics. A buddy of mine, Luke's got a bunch of young guys where he's from, and I'm older, and we have a mutual friend who's also older. He refers to them as the paddle mutants, which I think is perfect. But do you guys have a bunch of other guys that around your age that are just as fanatical as you guys are?
I don't know about around our age, but like,
Yeah, like
this
there's
guy.
like 10. I would say like there's 10 people that are in. I would say
Yeah.
out of Boston, I would say there's like 10-ish guys that are like late 20s, like very
Yeah.
early 30s that are like playing tournaments and like keeping up with like results and watching and like
Yeah.
knowing all the players and stuff.
Yeah.
So I would say like there's a solid like 10 of us that know all of that. So like I would say like we have like group chats and stuff that we talk in. But like in terms
Just
of
paddle group.
just paddle.
Just paddle.
Love it.
Yeah. And then I would say like personal like friends and stuff, like my roommates, they find it absolutely hilarious. So like I brought them to Boston Nationals. So like for that Saturday, I think it was quarters and semis, like we got there. I think Griffin got there first. I got there second. I showed up like 9 a.m. with like 30 beers. Griffin had the brown. And we started at 9 a.m. just drinking and watching, drinking and watching. And then my roommates came at like 2:30 and they're like, what is everyone doing just drinking and watching paddle? Like they didn't understand it. And then like a couple hours in, they're like, this is awesome. Everyone's just drinking, eating. And then like I brought them out onto the court at TCC because like they were watching and like this kind of seems like easy, like like not easy, but like doable. Then I bring them out to the court and they're like they can't hit a ball. So it's just like very funny. And then like they're like, why do you on Monday nights, which is our league in Boston, like you go out Monday nights, 8 lines, there's 32 guys there. You guys just drink beer, eat. You come back and you've like me and Griffin always just bring back food because they cater our matches every Monday night in the league. So I brought home like trays of pulled pork and pizza and everything you can think of. And they're like, this is awesome. So
It's
just definitely trying to grow the game and just, talk to my friends about it. I'd say like when we're out at the bar and, some girl starts talking to you and, I try not to mention paddle, but it's definitely harder, easier said than done, but you got to do what you got to do.
I love it. Some of the texts we have, we're always talking about who's better than who. not necessarily the guys on the chain, but other guys, local guys we know. Is who's better, so and so, or Jim, right, Luke? I mean, how many stupid texts, Luke, do we have along those lines?
I love that you distinguish that we're talking behind people's backs and not.
No, it's nonstop paddle talk. It really is, right? I mean, especially between clubs. We have our paddle community within 40 minutes is how many, Luke? Like six, seven?
Yeah, 6 or 7 different clubs, yeah.
And everybody knows everybody down here. I mean,
Yeah.
we're friendly with them, but there's rivalries
Yeah.
and then you get into PTI and guys move down and you're like, there's no way that guy's 15, right?
Oh yeah.
Um,
I know those conversations. Yeah, we definitely have those in Boston for sure. But yeah, I mean, the Boston League in particular is like really special because Monday nights, each team like schedules like 2 guys to be on drinks that night and 2 guys to be on food, so it's like a total party and we have a good time. There's a lot of those rivalries that go around, which are super fun and engaging. So yeah, it makes it fun.
Yeah.
Whatever makes
Boston
it
League
fun.
is super social just because like it's 8 lines on Monday nights. So there's just a ton of guys there. And I would say like everyone's in the same league, like Division 1. Um, compared to like Fairfield County, where like a lot of the top guys are like spread out through different divisions, so you don't really get to play or see a lot of the guys like that you play paddle with, maybe like casually or whatever. So you just get to see a lot of the Boston guys, pretty much every week, and there's a lot of them. So I think the Boston League is great in that aspect.
You kind of described the Connecticut leagues before, but so for the Boston League, you're saying the Monday nights 8 teams. Is there, that's like the A division or Division 1? Is there lower divisions that are different week
I think
nights?
there's three men's divisions. I think we in the first division there's 9 or 10 teams. I want to say 9, and I think only in the second division there may only be like 5 or 6, and it's just like we're Brookline Paddle, and then it's just like Brookline Paddle 2 or whatever, and then Country Club 2, the second team or whatever. So there's just fewer clubs in the lower divisions, which I think makes it just because it's 8 lines. So I would say like lines 1 to 3 are usually like single digits PTI guys, and then like 4 or 5 are like low teens, and then it kind of just goes up from there. That's why you get a vast array of levels in one night, which is a lot of fun, and watching all levels of paddle in one night is pretty awesome. So
Yeah. And you and Connor, or you and Griffin both play for Brookline?
yep, we're on the same team. I think we only played one league match together though. Captain doesn't like us pairing us together, but
And Steven is the pro there?
Steven does not teach
No.
paddle anymore. He used to be the head pro at Brayburn Country Club, I think a couple years ago, but him and Johan and someone else, I forgot who the third is, but they own Boston Pickle Club now. So they have a couple locations, so they're doing that full time. And Brookline Paddle is just a place for Steven to play paddle. He does not teach. So
And is Brookline Paddle a country club, or is it just strictly paddle?
it's just paddle. We're actually on the campus of Pine Manor College, which is now Boston College. So we're actually on the campus. We have 3 courts and a hut and like a big like wraparound deck. I'd say like us and another team, Needham, in our league are like the more not like public access, but it's not like a full country club.
Yeah.
So
Was that where you were playing when you filmed that night?
yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Luke, let's go through your rapid fire.
Yeah. So I guess, I'll just kind of run through these, and maybe, Griffin, you can answer first, then Connor can go. But just first, what racket are you guys currently playing with?
I play with the Xenon, but with the small oval holes. I don't know what they call that, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm currently gaming.
Same.
Love it. What
Same.
shoes you guys find, that you currently use, or have you found the best, that hold up the best on the court?
I am on the Ultra Shot 4s now, I believe. They discontinued the 3s, only because of the warranty.
Yeah.
It's the only reason I'm on those.
Same.
I love that you guys got a team uniform. This is great.
We do.
Yeah. And then, favorite hut or court setup that you guys have played at or regularly play at?
I mean, the first one that comes to mind is obviously the home. Next in line is that was a great setup.
I think you cut out right when you were naming both of those
Yeah,
courts.
I
cut
think he's
off.
on his way to his girlfriend's
Can you hear
dinner.
me now? Can you
Hello?
hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave a shout out to the home court at PPC, but then plugged Aronimi because probably the best paddle court that I had played at. Great setup down
Setup
there.
is awesome.
Yeah. Legendary.
That is awesome. So like that Weburn in Connecticut is awesome. Everyone in Fairfield County just calls it the Taj Mahal of paddle huts. Can actually have a legit party rager in there. And I think they have like 8 courts. I don't know, Griffin. I think it's 8 or 7. It's a high number, and the hut sits on top, and you can like look down at all the courts. It's awesome.
Great. And then, who taught you game of paddle, helped you develop the most? I know probably you guys would both say your dads, from what you said earlier, but just kind of anyone else you want to give some flowers to that's helped you guys develop and, get better.
Yeah, I mean, obviously my dad was a big component in my paddle game, but other than that, I trained with an old legend of the game, Marco Grangiero, for the longest time in my junior career. So he was a guy that I looked up to a lot, and I've kind of modeled my paddle game around now. But yeah, other than that, Stephen Mitchell's another guy that comes to mind, especially in recent days. But yeah, those three.
Yeah, Dad, have to shout out. Got me. I kind of felt bad. Don't feel bad, but Dad obviously introduced me, and then I started meeting a bunch of the Fairfield County guys, and then getting their numbers, and then making games on my own, and not including Dad sometimes. So don't feel bad, but no, definitely Dad, and then I would say just the members at my club at Aspetug. Those are the guys I just started to play with, and that took the time, early in the career to play with, and just help jumpstart, my paddle journey.
Yeah. No, we always say, it's like you kind of have to be taught the game, so it's good
No,
to
sure.
give respect where it's due. Then for next year, one tournament or match you're kind of most determined to win. I know you've talked about a few tournaments or maybe even a team that you lost to last year that you want to get revenge on, but just, one maybe date or match you have circled for next year.
I know Griffin's tournament answer.
I'm obviously looking forward to playing with Steve and getting to give it a shot with him. But I think other than that, I think me and Connor are really due to beat these local guys, Todd Maringoff and Mike Miller. I'm sure they're going to listen to this eventually. But we were primed to play them in the Boston Open, and unfortunately didn't make it far enough to see them. So we're ready to go and take those guys, and that's kind of a match that I'm looking forward to for this upcoming season.
Love that. I thought you were going to say bourbon ball for tournament.
Oh, the bourbon ball. Yeah, sure.
No, definitely want to play like some not highlighted tournaments. I would say like the bourbon ball, like just seems like these tournaments that seem just like a great time and maybe have something like special about them, or so like bourbon balls up there. We played like, what was it, Green Mountain in Vermont last year. That's just like a local fun event. So tournaments like that are always fun outside of the the big names.
I'm actually not familiar with bourbon ball. What is it?
That's the one that Tyler Owens. Yeah. Tyler was behind that one.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, what more do you need to know? Bourbon ball, right?
The name itself is legendary.
Exactly.
Self-explanatory.
I know, Griffin, you kind of already somewhat answered this, but just in terms of like rackets background, I guess like rank in order of which you enjoy the most: platform, padel, pickleball, and tennis, or how much you play all of them. And if you don't play, just let us know.
Yeah, I mean, I've played all of them. And there's a special place in my heart for tennis just because I grew up playing it. My dad obviously has an extensive tennis background. So I love watching it. Don't love playing it anymore. It's just, especially the environment around it. A lot of people involved in tennis are a little bit more uptight and a little bit more pretentious, and that's just not my it's just not my MO anymore. Any game that you can drink a beer and play, that's more my MO. That's more my speed. So, platform is definitely coming in number one. I'll give, Padel number two and tennis number three, and then pickle number four, purely out of spite.
We
But
won't.
Well, you better not tell Steven that. When he hears this, he might be dumping you.
no, I think honestly, off the record, I think he would agree with me. But on the record,
Bad for business.
story.
No, I'm paddle, definitely one most I ever played. I probably play this so far for tennis. I've hit like an hour with my mom. Not sure if that counts. I'm probably gonna put tennis at two. I've played padel a couple times now. It's a lot of fun. I would say I'd probably play padel like once a month. I don't think I'd see myself playing more than that, but it's just a great switch up. It's good sweat.
Yeah,
And then yeah, I'm gonna throw a pickle in the four slot.
I love it. Both of you
Yeah,
guys.
I don't play any pickle except I play with like my aunts and stuff and uncles, but that's just for fun. I try to hit them. So
Old people. You play with old people.
People that couldn't get on the paddle court with you guys. Um,
Exactly.
and I know you guys said you watch a lot of the pro matches. You mentioned some players, but just maybe your favorite player to watch on the pro tour, and maybe mention someone that you haven't already said that you just enjoy watching.
Yeah, I mean, love watching Philippe Rams. That guy, comes to mind immediately. Love watching Chris Humphreys, the local guy, his partner Felly. Both great guys, fun to watch. Apart from that, I love going back and finding old matches that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
yeah.
Whether it's like 2020 Boston Open, I just get a rewind of like Johan, trying to absolutely take Drew Broderick's head off. Um, just fun stuff like that, going back into the archives and digging deep and trying to find some stuff that I'd never seen before. That's always fun. And, Martin Bosham's always a guy that comes to mind. But apart from that, love supporting local guys, Thomas Nolan and Johan and Steve, obviously, but anybody else that, is in the Boston area, love to tune into their matches. So.
No, the archive paddles on YouTube are definitely the best watches. Like the speed of play and the shot making was just a lot of fun to watch. And but yeah, Bostrom, Griffin took, love watching him, just complete game, forehand, backhand, roller, cutter, serve, has every single shot. Marc Parsons and Juan Araya, loved watching them as a team, just two completely different players, but they played their roles just so well. Marc's best backhand probably ever in paddle. And then Juan's just cutters are just spin is just filthy. So, and he's just crazy man out there. So it's just a lot of fun to watch. But those old school paddle videos are definitely what we watch the most of, I would say.
Yeah, no, I love that. I agree. It's fun to watch like the different eras of paddle and some stuff that you would never see
It's
before
crazy.
that. Yeah. Pet peeve on the court, whether it's, not calling out the score, fist pumping, and anything that just annoys you that an opponent does on the court or a partner.
Let's get honest, guys. Let's get honest.
Not calling out the score is one thing. I think probably something that bothers me the most is, guys that are being untruthful with line calls, and it's always funny when you ask the opponent's partner whether he saw it the same way, and he gives you the, "Oh, I didn't see it." There's no place for that kind of stuff in paddle, in my opinion, and I'll always play it straight up. So, that kind of stuff turns me off and gets me a little fired up. But other than that, it's all fair game.
Get your FYM meter
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
It's a good answer. It's a tough question. Griffin takes all my overheads. Don't like that. No. Yeah, I don't know. I would say not saying the score just because I never keep score. Like me and Griffin actually just don't know what the score is a lot of the time. So it's definitely just helpful when the other team just says the score. But Other than that, I really don't. I feel like you find a lot of great guys in the paddle community. I just say the only pet peeve is just like non-friendly guys that like don't like I'm not asking to be like Mr. Chatty, but like couple like pregame chats and like whatever, like after a set or something, just a little friendliness. But I think it's definitely more rare to find a guy that is not as friendly um in the paddle community. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, I think my new answer is guys that won't have a beer with you after you've played. I think that's gonna be my new answer. Yeah.
yeah.
good answer.
I agree that I think overwhelmingly, most guys in the paddle leagues are, nice dudes and everyone's there for kind of the same thing and no one takes it too seriously, but definitely do find some of those guys and I
Couple
definitely
bad apples in the bunch, but
yeah,
that's,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
understand. All right, then just a final few here. Roller or cutter?
Putter.
Cutter.
I don't hit rollers.
Love it.
Rollers.
Griffin
Don't
doesn't
know
hit
a roller.
rollers,
Don't
so
know what a roller is.
no, I hit rollers and I usually miss them, but yeah, no, I definitely see cut before I see roll, even though I probably should see roll before I see cut. But that's just the way the brain works. Can't really change it. Need to, but can't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the same way. And then forehand drive or backhand drive?
Backhand drive doesn't exist yet, so forehand drive. We're still working on it though, so
Yeah, forehand can't hit it backhand, unfortunately. So if I'm in the ad corner, you can just go hit to my backhand, and we'll never drive it.
But you'll wear them out.
Wear them out.
Yeah.
That's it. And then Griffin usually yells at me to get my ass to the side screen to try to hit a forehand. Never happens.
I'm good for one of those. Yeah.
I love it. That's pretty much all the. I guess one last one here that Sean wanted to throw in. What would be your walk-on song if you had a paddle intro?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean,
Something American. I
for
don't
the
know.
city of Boston, I'd love to say something from the Dropkick Murphys, like "Ship Up to Boston."
You ship up to Boston.
My pregame song is usually Chemical Brothers, Block Rockin' Beats. It's usually what I have on I've got like a 24-hour version of that. So if you see me pre-match, that's usually what I got going. Yeah, but I don't know. Anything
Shipping up to
raging.
Boston is a good one.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
And then last one. What's in your paddle bag that might surprise some people? Beer, IPAs, and nice beers for Stephen Mitchell.
I was going to say I got a lot of beer, a lot of Advil.
Griffin actually doesn't bring a bag to paddle. He brings a cooler backpack and then just holds the paddle in his hand. So like me and Griffin both don't have cars in Boston, so we use, train, bus, however it means to get to a paddle facility. We do. So we usually just take the Boston T, which is like equivalent to the subway. And so you'll just see Griffin on, public transport, paddle in hand, beer backpack on his back, headphones on, ready to go.
Condensation dripping off of my backpack. Nice.
That's the type of commitment we love to see.
Yeah.
I actually need a paddle bag now that I think about it. I use my old college soccer bag and just stick a paddle in it. So maybe I think I got a hand warmer in there from a couple, I don't know.
This is a good opportunity for Noah. If you're listening to this, Noah, Xenon needs to be our sponsor for this coming season. So would love to get that conversation underway.
You beat me to the punch, Griffin. That's where I was going. Time for Noah to step up.
I know. Now I've secured a good enough partner for the Boston Open this year, a guy that he sponsors. Why wouldn't I? It only makes sense. So yeah, no, I mean I don't know. I probably have a couple good luck charms in my pocket when I play. I always keep one good luck charm in my pocket for sentimental value, but that's pretty much it.
I love it. That's pretty much all the rapid fire I have. Sean, if you want to throw any out there or want to move on to something else.
No, all good, guys. Thank you so much. Love to have you on at the end of the year, and we can recap your progress. Hopefully, you guys are in the negatives by the end of this year.
That's the goal. That's the goal for sure.
And hopefully we'll run into a tournament because I'm going to them.
Sweet.
And have a few pops together.
Let's do it.
Definitely. Yeah. If you ever see a black cooler backpack, hiding in the corner somewhere, you can hop in there and find something with IPAs.
Love it. Love it. All right, guys.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for having
Well,
us.
that was a pleasure, guys. Great meeting you, and hope to see you
Good to
out there.
meet you guys. See you guys later.
Definitely. Yeah, great meeting you guys as well. Thanks for having us.
See ya.
Bye.